Right, all right. Watching Bitcoin. Bitcoin has hit all-time highs. Bitcoin up to 118, getting close to 120. Let's see. Nvidia then went over. Bitcoin then went over 165. What else we got? Let's see. We got the SPY, 622, down today. Tesla's down a little bit. What else? Facebook is down. We got, let's see, Amazon. See what about on the day. Shout out to Amazon. AMD got a little pullback going on. Let's see. But Bitcoin, though, a lot of buy orders came in on Bitcoin, pushing it all the way up over 120. Let's see other coins. Check out other coins. Cardano. Cardano looking okay. Let's see what else we got on here. Let's see the dollar. The US dollar steadily losing its value. We well up under. I haven't looked at the US dollar in a while. We well up under 100 now, bro. Dang. Let's see. See what we got Dogecoin doing. Dogecoin dropped all the way down to 14 cents. Now it's coming back above 20. Hold on, let me check something out, guys. If anybody's watching, let me check something out. Let me go over here. Just bear with me 1 second. YouTube. Let me check something out. Let me check something out right here. Okay, there we go. Let's get back over here. I'm watching, let's see, not DXY. Where is RTX? RTX. RTX is almost at 150 right now, which is good. Hold on, let me go over here and check out something. That's what I love about this broker right here. It's real easy to navigate and work through. Real easy. Let me get back to Nvidia. If you don't know, I love Nvidia. And of course, we up above. We did go up to 165. Now we're doing a little bit pullback. It's a slight pullback, but we should be getting some more AI news anytime now. We should be getting AI news anytime. Let's see. I got a lot going on over here, guys. But then when I get through with this of just going through these companies, we're going to go back to the regular thing. I got to see what's going on around the world. I got to see what's going on. Appreciate y'all for joining me. I'm just doing what I do. What I do every single day. What's up to Don? New to the channel. What the platform are you using? What are your thoughts on the BCTM? What you mean what platform? Like the broker? This is Webull that I'm using. But if you talk about what I'm streaming off of, it is Restream. But yeah, that broker, this broker right here is Webull. Yeah, it's real easy. I like Webull because it's simple to use. You don't, it's real easy. You can figure it out within a couple of minutes. That's what I like about Webull. And then you can use your phone, right? Like a lot of times I'll be out and I'll be out and about, and you can set your alert. Like if you want a price, if you want Nvidia at 165, you can set your alert notification, and you could be out and about. You could be out and about, and you can get a notification and just hurry up and press buy from the phone. That's what I love about Webull. Circus Soul. Webull is my go-to. Yeah, Webull is the truth. I like it a lot. Yeah, it's real easy. My main broker is Charles Schwab TD Ameritrade, but ever since basically right now I'm trying out Webull, but I've been trying it out for so long I end up liking it, and I haven't switched back. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's a lot you can do with this Webull. Like I like how easy it is to set up boards. Like, let me go through that real quick. It's real easy to set up boards. It's real simple. That's what I like about it. All you gotta do is it's so simple. Click here, and then go over here, get a chart, and then your watch list. Turbo Trader, which is another good element that I like about Webull. But you can pull up your, let's see, you can pull up your positions. Watch list. Another chart. Another chart. You can pull up options. And then it's just real simple. This easy like this. Boom. You can make it. Boom. It's just real simple to navigate. This is not going to be a beautiful board, but boom, just to your liking. Real simple. If I want to add something else, let's see. Go to widget. I can put my positions right here. Just some easy. Boom. Boom. You get the point. Real simple, something real easy. This wouldn't be a board that I actually would make, but you get the point. It's real simple. I don't make that many boards though, because I like this setup right here. I like this setup, particularly this one. That's the setup that I like. So yeah, that's how easy it is, guys. That's what I like about it. So let me get over here. I'm trying to get out of something. I got about 4 things going on at one time, guys. Yeah, I do. Okay, I got to get out of here. Oh, channel. Bloomberg. All right, y'all see that little tutorial or just a little small something. Somebody asked what software I was using, so thank you for the support in advance. Like, share, subscribe. Like, yeah. Okay, Iron. I see the trolls in here early today. But yeah, let me get over here. Boom. So we got Nvidia, look, bouncing up to all-time highs. Nvidia is up to 165.90, trying to get to 166. And guess what I'm going to do, guys, on my Webull app? I think I'm going to jump in on this green candle and make a move on up. Let's see. 166.11. I kind of been all over the place, but I like this green candle. And I think I'm finna go and jump in and take me a position. So that's what I love about Webull. That's what I love about it. That's what I love about it, guys. That's what I like about it, guys. And just like that, I caught this green candle right here. Boom. In and out that quick. 24% action. I like that this up. I like that this green. I seen this green candle right here. Like that this green candle, and I seen more buyers coming in, and I jumped in for a quick trade, just like that. Boom. 24%. And now I'm out. Now I can go back to what I really want to do. Hold up, it ain't started yet, guys. But yeah, just like that, using the Webull app. Of course, you got to have a strategy and a plan, and you got to know the flow. And like I said, a lot of y'all have been watching me. I know Nvidia really, really well. Quick in and out on a quick day trade, just like that. So let's see. Ain't that much going on this morning, guys. Wait, hold up. Yeah, it is. Let me move around. Let me move around. We got, he gone off. I was trying to catch. I'm gonna rewind it. See what he's talking about.
On the West Coast. Taking a look here at some of the video as we continue to follow the latest on the New York City mayoral race. As we know, Zohran Mamdani is leading
Shout out to everybody in New York. They got the
Democratic
mayor.
candidate officially
Race
there
going on in New
for
York.
mayor
Let's see
of
what's
New
going
York.
on.
Now, he has gotten some very high-profile folks who have come out and said this is who we want. He got those endorsements, and that includes one from a very public figure. Let's pop up the audio here and listen in.
All right. Good afternoon, Democrats. I say good afternoon, Democrats. Okay, well. Good afternoon. Yeah, it's past 12 already. New York City is at a tipping point. I've been in this neighborhood since 1964. In fact, I used to come here to watch movies when it was the lowest theater as a young boy. And New York City is at a tipping point where many tenants find themselves at a landlord-tenant court fighting an eviction. I know that because I've accompanied some of them to court, where small businesses cannot pay the rent and they find themselves with their hands strapped,
Hey, what's
shackled,
up, Junior Guards? Appreciate you for joining me.
fighting an eviction, where young families cannot make ends meet, and they choose to move, Assemblyman, to places like Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Waterbury, Connecticut, and Lawrence, Massachusetts. Other places where affordability gives that family, that young family, oxygen and opportunity to move forward.
Mandani has picked up another endorsement.
This is a city that is at a tipping point, at a precipice, unlike ever before. And so we need someone
Mandani's getting real popular, guys.
those tenants, those small business people, those families that are up against the wall without the ability to breathe, trying to stay in a city that they love and that they grew up in. So this is so important. Now, we had a robust primary. We had a tough primary. We're a party, the Democratic Party is a big tent party with different opinions, with different people from all over the world, with different subgroups that bring a lot of ideas to the table. That's what makes us a strong party, the diversity of our membership. And I will be damned if I see the party go down.
Socially.
We're going to make sure we unite. A united Democratic Party cannot be defeated. Cannot be defeated. United, we will win. United as a party, we will win. And we represent as a party the best interest of those families that find themselves in landlord-tenant court, the small business people that are having a hard time paying the rent, and families that are having a hard time making ends meet. And we're under attack by Donald Trump and the Republicans. So we have no choice but to come together. I visited the detention centers, and I met with the people that are being deported. Let me tell you, they're working moms. They're working fathers. People that have never committed a crime are now finding themselves being separated roughly from their families. That is fundamentally un-American. So that's why the Democratic Party must come together. And this is the moment where we begin to come together as Democrats in this city. And so we've had our primary, we had our election, and the people have spoken.
Robert, ICE is a bunch of racists that needs to be reined in.
And they have said clearly that they have selected Assemblyman Sora Mandani to be our nominee of the Democratic Party. So, as a lifelong Democrat, I have never chosen to be outside of the Democratic lane. And we will continue to back those candidates, those nominees that our voters tell us that they support.
This so must come together
Now,
to protect.
We will have our differences.
Criminals.
Many people
That
have
is
spoken about his
saying.
stand on global issues and my stand, and you know, we will build consensus. That's what this city is about. He's expressed to me his commitment to protect everybody, every single New Yorker, and to fight anti-Semitism in the city of New York. And we will come together, and we, as good Democrats, we will work out our differences. But the people have spoken. So if for me it is a privilege and an honor to be here and support Assemblyman Sora Mandani for mayor of the city of New York. Now we need him. We need him. We need him. We need him. Without white. This little group here I saw, you know, they're dangerous. Now we have with us today Elsie Encarnacion, who's the nominee for the Democratic Party also in East Harlem, en el barrio. Ella es la nominada como concejal.
These so
Y el
these
sur del
people will
Bronx
never
también. And
learn
so,
the definition of
to
illegal.
fight
No
Donald
legal is
Trump
above the law.
and his
That's a
authoritarian
fact.
ways, we must continue to work together. We believe in opportunity. We believe in the American dream. We believe in helping those that come behind us and don't have necessarily the same opportunities that we have. We believe in those values. Those are democratic values. Those are American values of this nation. That's what's made this nation great. And we will not give up on America. We will not give up on the city of New York. That same city that took a young boy, 8 years old, who came from the Dominican Republic with no papers, who went back and got his green card, struggled to go to college and learn English, and then gave him the opportunity to walk the hallways of the U.S. Congress as a representative of this district. And so, estamos aquí para apoyar el candidato demócrata. La comunidad ya habló en las primarias y determinó de manera determinante, fuerte, de que tienen su candidato, su nominado para la alcaldía de la ciudad de Nueva York. Esta es una ciudad que se ve cerca del precipicio, donde familias tienen grandes dificultades de pagar la renta. Yo lo conozco así porque yo lo he acompañado a la Corte de Vivienda, donde enfrentan un desalojo.
All right, so there you have it. Representative Espaillat endorses Mamdani for New York City mayor. We are going to be hearing from Mamdani a little bit later, but as you can hear, he is speaking in Spanish now. We are going to step away for a quick 2-minute commercial break, but as we go, I do want to bring you this live image right here outside of Air Force One as President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are headed for Central Texas. They are going to survey the damage from the deadly flooding that took place 1 week ago here as the search efforts do continue for about 170 people across the state. Again, a very active situation there, but the president and first lady will be joined by emergency officials at a roundtable later on today. And you can watch that, of course, right here on Live Now from Fox. But again, we do expect that the president and first lady will depart here shortly. Going to head to a quick break right now at 9:32 on the East Coast, 6:32 on the West Coast. We'll be right back with more coverage coming up in just a few.
Hey, we must protect our criminal president at all costs. Shout out to New York, guys. Shout out to New York. Let's see what's going on around. What else is going on around the world? Appreciate y'all for joining me, man. Hit the like button as you come in. Hit the like button as you come in. Appreciate y'all for commenting. Appreciate y'all for commenting. Let's see. I'm trying to get over here. I had all my stuff set up correctly, but it's everywhere right now. Let's see. Let's take a look. I got to check out Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin is moving it on up. Bitcoin is moving up, guys. We're getting close to 120, which is great. We're getting close to 120. I remember, man, I remember when Bitcoin was in the 30s, in the 40s. Now look, we're getting close to the 120s. Shout out to all the Bitcoin holders. Shout out to y'all. But it ain't too late. You know, but you gotta do your own research and due diligence to see if it's a fit for you. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Look like we got Donald Trump soon to get off of the plane. Let's see. Which one I'm on? Okay, I'm on that one. I wonder what he's gonna say when he get off this plane. You know he's gonna say something. He always got something fly to say. See that happens? Let's go over here.
Are lining up for essential supplies such as food and medicine, and where they are being attacked, where again, as my colleagues have said, they have a choice between being shot or being fed. This is unacceptable, and it's continuing.
What they're saying was going on in Gaza is that
a tent camp housing displaced Palestinians in Al-Mawasi in southwestern Gaza. Tanks were seen in the area, even though Israel designated Al-Mawasi a so-called safe evacuation zone for civilians. The attack caused fires which destroyed tents and people's belongings. The Israeli army says it was targeting Hamas fighters. Now, people have just started to assess the scale of damage after an Israeli operation in Al-Mawasi, west of Khan Yunis. The people displaced there say the military had also been exhuming bodies from makeshift graves.
Every single day.
Tariq Abwazoum has a story.
There's no new information, new development. This is
Al-Mawasi area at the western end of the city of Khan Yunis. And in this place, the Israeli military 2 days ago has conducted a relative military incursion without any kind of prior warning. And right now, the repercussions can be quite profound and very pervasive in this place. Flimsy makeshift shelters have been completely destroyed by the Israeli ground forces. We can see people, properties being quite ripped off, and the scale of destruction is very obvious and remarkable across this place. Now, the destruction is not just inflicting upon the civilian properties, but also extended to include, as what we can see right now, civilian vehicles that have been used for transportation. Families are trying to gather what has left from their makeshift shelters. This is the area where the Israeli military has told people to go to in order to get away from the Israeli bombardment. But what we can understand, according to eyewitnesses, reports that we have got once we have arrived at this site, is that the Israeli military also conducted some sort of digging operations for the public cemetery that is next to this makeshift shelter in Al-Mawasi area. People now are trying to move and to transfer their properties, and we can see the scale of destruction inflicted on those mass graves, as witnesses said that the Israeli military has taken somebody from this site, and we can also understand that families have been moving also the bodies of their loved ones from this grave because it's not quite unsafe anymore. The scale of destruction, as you can right now see in the frame, is very overwhelming. Israeli drones are still hovering in this area that has been meant to be a safe zone, and everyone on the ground is in a state of shock, simply because they have nowhere else to turn, and all safe spaces that the Israeli military told them to go to in order to protect their families have turned out to be killing zones. Tariq Abwazoum, Al Jazeera, Khan Yunis, Palestine.
And women and children are among those killed after another wave of Israeli attacks on Gaza. Missiles hit a school housing displaced families in Jabalia in the north of the Strip. Ibrahim Al-Khalili reports from the scene.
In light of the ongoing Israeli military escalation of attacks targeting various areas across the Gaza Strip, the situation is going from bad to worse. One of those areas was Halima Saadiya Shelter School in the Jabalia area of northern Gaza, where a recent deadly Israeli airstrike hit this school, killing many Palestinians and left dozens injured, including women and children. The scale of devastation we are seeing in the frame is unprecedented. As you can see above, this is the crater created by the missile which hit this school. This school had been sheltering thousands of displaced Palestinians who fled their homes in eastern parts of the Strip.
That's crazy,
following
man.
the Israeli forced displacement orders. Instead of refuge, they were met with death and destruction. We can clearly see the blood on the mattress
blood, bro.
Here. The smell of the blood is everywhere. The attack came before midnight as people slept, killing them in the very place they once thought was safe. Halima Saadiya School is just one of many schools hit in recent weeks, turning places meant for safety into sites of death and destruction. For Gaza's displaced places and safe places are disappearing as days go by.
I saw the whole area filled with dust. That's when I realized the strike had hit this place. The panic, fear, and terror that swept through the school was overwhelming. There were about 1,000 displaced people sheltering here, tents in classrooms all being used as refuge. So far, 10 people have been confirmed killed, in addition to many injuries, all of them women and children.
I entered the classroom and found martyrs lying on the ground, children torn apart, charred, women who had done absolutely nothing. The scenes were beyond horrific. I saw a little girl without a head, literally without a head.
The situation is catastrophic, as many displaced Palestinians are left with nowhere to go. Ibrahim Al-Khalili, Al Jazeera, from Jabalia area, Palestine.
Israeli settlers have once again deliberately started fires near the remains of a 5th century church in the occupied West Bank. The attack took place in the predominantly Christian village of Taibe. Palestinian homes were also targeted. It marks the continuation of illegal Israeli settler expansion and intimidation in the occupied West Bank.
Man, they got to figure out a way to end this war, bro. They got to figure out a way to end this war. All those pictures and videos we seeing, did y'all see that? It looked like a mattress full of blood.
Done the right thing. Amazingly, they've really done the right thing, and they understand it's really the survival of our country. We can't have like 11,888 murderers, and you know something that you should have that you haven't reported. As you know, 300,000 children are missing, right? 300,000 under Biden. We've already gotten back of those children, and we have a lot more planned to come back. We're getting them back by the thousands, but 300,000, and we've, as of this morning, over 10,000 we've gotten back.
What is your advice to countries worldwide ahead of the upcoming tariff deadline?
Oh, I think just keep working hard. You know, we've been taken advantage of for many, many years. Both friend and foe. And frankly, the friends have been worse than the foes in many cases. So I would say just keep working. It's all going to work out.
No.
I think he's doing a terrible job. I think we should be, I think we should be 3 points lower interest rate. He's costing our country a lot of money. We should be number one, and we're not. And that's because of Jerome Powell. In terms of interest, we are number one in the world. Look, I'll tell you a little simple language. 1 year ago, our country was a dead country. We were going nowhere except down. We were the laughing stock all over the world. And now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're number one everywhere, anywhere in the world. And that's all they're talking about is our country. 1 year ago it was a dead country. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Okay, that was U.S. President Donald Trump speaking a short while.
Let's see. The Don, I agree. I also want to know what happened to Hunter Biden's laptop. Yeah, I want to know. I want to see the files. I want to know what's also going on with Hunter Biden's laptop. Yeah, they're not going to tell us nothing, though, guys. Ozzy Crosby, YouTube doesn't like when I type certain words. Yeah, that's right, Ozzy. YouTube is cutting down on a lot of things. They're trying to, like, censor what people say. Yeah, they're cutting down on a lot of things. But they're not going to let us know what's really going on. You know, all of them are guilty, in my opinion. And, you know, they will cover for one another at the end of the day. That they might show us that they're arguing and going back and forth, but they really, you know, on one accord at the end of the day. Nobody's going to release the files. In my opinion, the only way we'll see those files if there is a president that comes in that's not on the files. But I believe everybody are on those files. And they're going to stop talking about it. Watch.
In the northern region, namely near the border with Turkey, and amid the conflict with the Turkish forces who have been chasing PKK fighters in those mountains, shelling and targeting their locations with airstrikes, and that has resulted in destroying thousands of hectares of farmlands and orchards belonging to the farmers, the Iraqi farmers in the northern semi-autonomous Kurdish region. The Iraqi government has banned the PKK since April last year. We understand that the PKK has been designated a terrorist organization by Turkey, the United States, and the European Union. We understand that this is just the beginning. This is a step forward towards achieving peace, but the PKK fighters have a number of demands on top of them that Abdullah Öcalan be released and sent to northern Iraq to lead the democratic peaceful process. Mahmoud Abdul Wahid, Al Jazeera, in Suleymaniya, northern Iraq.
And here's Sinem Koseoglu in Istanbul with the reaction from the Turkish government.
Turkey sees Friday's disarmament as a historic breakthrough, especially as Ankara believes that this is the most
deals being cut before the end of the year give a bit of a lift to the market in a way that could go sideways if these negotiations, some of these negotiations don't go well. And I would mention, China as being kind of one of the big negotiations that's still out there. We've climbed down from that really high tariff rate that was set in April, but we could go back there if those negotiations don't go well.
We initially thought China will feel the most pain here, but China and Canada are roughly on the same page when it comes to tariff rate. How do we make sense of this, and what does it look like for China moving forward based on what your sources are telling you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you can really only, one of the things that President Trump's advisors, including the Treasury Secretary, really try to underscore in a lot of their interviews and when they talk to folks is that, they offer the president options, but ultimately it's up to the president to decide what he wants to do. And you've seen this with Brazil and President Trump's comments just there a moment ago where he was talking about the targeting of or what he called the targeting of the former president there. So, there is an economic rationale, there's a national security rationale, there's an economic security rationale to some of these tariffs, but there's also an element of personal bias, I guess, is basically the only way to describe it when it comes to what the president wants to do. So, ultimately with Canada or with Brazil or with some of these countries, the president may say, look, I understand what my advisors are telling me with regard to a certain tariff level, but from my perspective, I believe it should be 5, 10, 20 points higher because of X, Y, and Z, and it's different in each case. So, there is a theory of an operating theory for why these tariffs are being used, which we could talk about. But essentially, there is also the president's sort of desires on top of that. So you have to kind of take all that into.
You got to change it up.
Is there any indication he's going to taco or chicken out or whatever?
I've noticed that.
Yeah, that's a great point because the
some
more
comments, depending on what you say,
from a
they're not going to let it on the platform.
The more you get into the realm of
that's why look, some comments I can see
where you're seeking to give yourself
in my streaming software.
You do introduce
but
this
then
element
on like
of,
YouTube, I won't see it.
Be reversed at the end of the day, and
I started picking that up like
some
a couple of weeks ago
along the way. And yeah, I don't think it's possible to really rule out the
see
idea
a comment
of backing off of some
on
of
the
these
streaming software, but I won't see it in the live chat.
It's also not not quite correct to rule
they're
that
really,
entirely or to rule that in. It's a very fluid situation.
We have around 40 seconds left, but how much opposition is there to smooth out
really
these policies from the Democratic
on
Party?
what people
Because if
say
the
on the
economy doesn't
internet.
roll over, and if the income from the tariffs do offset deficits, then who will lobby against these?
Yeah, it's a great question. We were expecting the economy to do certain things coming into these trade negotiations and these high tariff rates. Some of that has happened, some of that hasn't happened. We're expecting to get an update on the revenue brought in from tariffs later today from Treasury. So I think that there certainly is a lot of opposition to these tariffs, whether that can be operationalized, mobilized, whatever you want to call it at the end of the day. Kind of depends on how all this plays out.
Hey, Dan, thanks very much. Dan Flatley is our Bloomberg U.S. Treasury reporter with the update on the tariffs, reporting from Washington, D.C. It takes us at 10:20 on Wall Street, and let's get a market reset right now. To do that for us, Here's Charlie.
All right, I thank you very much, John Tucker. Here's what's going on. This Bloomberg Business Flash is brought to you by Oracle. Attention, growing businesses. Oracle's offering to cut your current cloud bill in half if you move to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure for new U.S. customers with minimum financial commitments. See if your company qualifies at oracle.com/Bloomberg. All about tariffs in today's trading session right now. Stocks retreating from records as President Trump intensifies his trade offensive. Stay with Bloomberg for the very latest on any developments out of Washington. We got
tired of hearing
right
about
now
these tariffs,
down
y'all.
21.6259. Dropped there of 0.3%.
About
The Dow
tariffs.
down 245 now, lower by 0.5%.
Right when things
Nasdaq lower
start to
than
get
less than 1/10
really
of 1%,
well,
down 18 points.
start talking
Our
about
Mag 7
tariffs
index
again
though advancing up
make
1/10
everything
of
kinda
1%,
turn
with the
around.
10-year at 4.40%. The 2-year 3.89%. Spot gold is up $27.
Only thing that's really doing really well is Bitcoin, Nvidia. That's basically it. Let me see everything else. But Nvidia is doing really well, and Bitcoin is doing really well.
Shanna Sissel is President and CEO of Bandrione Capital Management, joining us from Chicago right now. Stocks are expensive, and I got to wonder, with the earnings season upon us, is E going to justify P?
You never know. It depends on how accurate those E's are in the estimates. We continue to see,
I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
fairly conservative earnings estimates from the street. And so what has been consistent since the pandemic is that there's always consistently higher than average earnings surprises. So I think the wild card here is the continued uncertainty related to the tariffs and how that affects some of the biggest drivers of S&P earnings, those Mag 7 names, because many of them are multinational. But, it's hard to really tell because, we thought it would impact everybody in the previous quarter, and it really didn't.
OSRS, what you talking about?
When we think about that, it really comes down to the conservative nature of street estimates.
What are you talking about?
Shauna, how political do you think markets are going to get in relation to the Fed, especially in the second half of the year?
Well, they haven't been political as much as one might expect, especially when it comes to pressure on the Fed.
But I will wait.
I don't expect to see the Fed cut like everybody else
hold
does,
it
because
long
the economic
term.
data simply suggests that even with higher rates, the economy is doing quite well. But again, the tariffs are the uncertainty, and that's also the wild card in the Fed decision. But
what are you talking about?
OSRS, I think have less an effect this time because, as it pertains to Chairman Powell, it's a known fact that he's not going to come back for another term. So he's under a lot less political pressure because he's not worried about trying to save his job.
Okay, so what replaces Powell in terms of policy adjustment?
Well, that I don't know the answer to. That's not really something that I've been focused on.
You can guess.
Stocks fall as Trump's trade.
But then it would be on the record, and people would be able to look at this interview when I'm wrong and be like, "See, you were wrong."
Well, they do that with
rather
me and
than
Isabel
just
all the
throw
time.
something at
look.
That's the downside of having receipts
said it
for what
lifts the
people
dollar.
say.
I
But
didn't see that
I really haven't spent a lot of time worrying about that. We're really focusing on managing client portfolios for volatility and not really worrying about what might come after Chairman Powell. So that's like a year from now.
The consensus seems to be in a change from earlier this year in terms of recession calls, that maybe not recession now, but slow down. The idea of no recession, does that mean you definitely got to buy stocks at this point?
I don't necessarily think so. I think volatility is here to stay. And so I'm focusing on ensuring that client portfolios are allocating to things to manage and dampen volatility. And that isn't stocks. But what it does do is kind of take money that would normally be allocated to fixed income and put it into things like alternatives. And that allows us to get potential upside, in case I'm wrong, in equities, because you can take a little more risk in higher payout opportunities.
The tariff talks lift the dollar. Where's his lifting it at? I don't agree with him. This big red candle since January. Let's see. And let's see. Okay. That's why it's good to look at different time frames. Well, he is correct. He's correct if he's talking about basically the last few days. Yeah, he's correct. If he's talking about, yeah. He's talking about the last couple of months, couple of weeks. He's correct. That's why you got to look at it and look at it on the graph. He's kind of correct if he's talking about the last 2 weeks. Let me go out a little further. Yeah, he's kind of correct if he's talking about the last 2 weeks. Because on July 1st, well, not even, about 11 days. July 1st, the US dollar jumped all the way back down to 96.38. And since January 1st, now it's coming up a little bit, back up to, as of today, about to hit $98. So he's kind of correct if he's talking about within the last 2 weeks. So he's kind of correct about that. But they're back talking about tariffs again, which is not good. Let me see. Let me go back over here. That's why we had the dump in pre-market. They're back talking about tariffs. I think they say he's talking about putting 35% tariffs on Canada. So every time they say tariffs and talking that type of language, we gotta look for it's gonna be a dump somewhere in the market. But we didn't see a dump on Nvidia. So Nvidia must have some type of news. That's what I love about this Webull brokerage account. Because I can go over here. I can go over here and go see on my phone, on the go, what news came out. That's what I love about it. New copper tariffs could push Nvidia closer to tariffs on copper. Gorilla Technology targets 1.3 billion in new construction. Let's see, Gorilla Technology. Gorilla Technology is now working with Nvidia. Let's see. See, that's what I love about this. Let's see what's going on with Gorilla Technology. Never heard of it, but they're in business with Nvidia. SRRR. No, GRRR. My bad. GRRR. Gorilla Technology. And I can go over here, off of my phone on the go. I can go to company and see exactly what Gorilla Technology is. All from my phone. Profile. Software and IT services. As a global solution provider in security intelligence, network intelligence. They're in partnership with Nvidia. A $20 stock. I'm doing basic technical analysis right from my phone. Well, not really, but I am doing it from my phone while I'm streaming. That's what I like about the internet, guys. You can basically do research on these companies right from the broker. Love it. And if I like what I see, I could pull the trigger. So that's the news. Gorilla Technology, new contract with Nvidia. And look, Nvidia is still pumping. 167.80. Let's go. Tesla's going to double plus, but I gotta wait. Yeah, you gotta wait. You gotta hold on to it. I remember when Tesla was over $1,000 a share. I remember that. They did a reverse split. That's why it ended up coming back down. They did a reverse split, but since the reverse split, I can't remember exactly when it was, But I know the reverse split on Tesla was a few years ago. I can't remember exactly when it was. But Tesla, just think about it like this. In 2022, Tesla was $100 a share. And of course, we had that big run up, you know, when all the good news about the robots and the robo-taxi and what else, and the other things they had coming in, particularly the robo-taxi, which I like, by the way, and the robot that can do whatever. The robot can babysit, the robot can teach, the robot can cook, all of the above. I would love to have a robot, a Tesla robot, that can sit right here and do what I'm doing right now. I would love to have robo-taxi integrated with Uber, right? And I got my robo-taxi going around picking up people and dropping them off. So I'm really excited about Tesla. I will hold on to Tesla forever. My kids and my grandkids will get those shares. So yeah, but in my opinion, when Elon Musk teamed up with Trump, there was a little bit of friction, and then we need robots, and then they eliminated the EV mandate. So that killed a lot of momentum. But long term with Tesla, Tesla got a lot of products and services that's coming down the line. They're integrating with Uber, they're integrating with Nvidia, AI, and all this stuff that's coming into play. So yeah, I love Nvidia. But yeah, if you got on Nvidia at like 100, I mean, you basically done almost tripled. You tripled. You're almost at 300% right now. So yeah, I love Tesla. I love Nvidia. I love AMD. I love Amazon. Shout out to Amazon. But Nvidia is doing its thing today, guys. Nvidia is up over 2% right now. Nvidia is doing its thing. Shout out to everybody that jumped in on Nvidia when I called that out during Liberation Day. Shout out to everybody that picked up shares when I called it out during Liberation, the 80s and the 90s. Shout out to you. You basically doubled your money already. I had one person that jumped in with me right around here. I ain't gonna say their name though, but they jumped in right around here when I was talking about when Liberation Day came and the stock market started dumping. They jumped in right around here. I don't know. I think they sold some. Last time I heard from them, they were going to take profits because they don't have an emergency fund. So I was like, if you don't have an emergency fund and you basically put all your eggs in Nvidia on that dump, I would take the profits off the table. I think she was up like 4,000. And I was like, if it was me and I didn't have an emergency fund, I would just take off the profit. I would take off the profit. And then I would put that up in an emergency fund and have a foundation, right? Because when you're doing this, guys, gotta have an emergency fund. You gotta have an emergency fund. That way you can hold on to your shares. If you have an emergency fund right? Just in case something happened, you can continue the dollar cost average in, right? And fund your brokerage account and still catch these great companies on the wholesale at the discount. Like now, when I called out Liberation Day right around 80 to 90 to 100, it's 100% right now. For the people that got in for the first time, right around when I was talking about these companies that we know, like, and trust, they have great products coming. Of course, it's going to be dips and they're going to react to the negative news in the world. But that's when you catch the dips. You have your brokerage account funded. That way, when you get a dip, you're ready to rock and roll. So that one particular person was their first time ever participating in the stock market and got in at a lovely time, right around $90 a share on Nvidia. But they made something that I would never do. I would never take my emergency fund and put it all into the stock market. Why, Stock Sniper? Because if I got all my money invested and I don't have no money saved up for a rainy day, if something happens, I'm going to have to sell some shares to take care of the fund. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people do that. Some people use an ETF as a savings account. But only thing about that is that if you have an emergency, you would have to sell something off the top. But I got the old way of thinking, right? But with the ability, with these investment apps, and a lot of them you can connect to your debit card, and they say, like, if you got all your money in an ETF, like, let's say this, an example. Your savings account is VOO, which is a great ETF, by the way. If you got a savings account and you say, well, Stock Sniper, I don't have an emergency fund. I got all my money invested in an ETF like a VOO. Some people do that. But the development of the internet and the development of these apps, you can use VOO as a savings account, aka a emergency fund, and then if something happens, like you got to get a new transmission in your car, as an example, where your car go to the shop and you say, okay, all my money is invested in VOO. I'm gonna sell some shares to take care of the emergency, but if you sold it today, the funds won't be available till tomorrow. So you sell it today, you get the funds tomorrow, and then you can transfer it to your debit card. Or if you got a broker, some of these brokerage accounts now are becoming bank accounts, right? So it's getting easier to, like, transfer the money in between your bank account and your brokerage account. It's getting easier to do that. Like Robinhood. Robinhood has a debit card that comes with the brokerage account. So you can easily transfer it between, But you got to have, some people do that method. Use a high-level ETF like a VOO and use it as a savings account. A lot of people do that. But, you got to have an emergency fund, right? But so if you have like an ETF and say, okay, I don't want to keep my emergency fund in a regular savings account because, your money ain't, if you got your money in a regular savings account with inflation, that money is really, losing value. But if you got your emergency fund in a VOO or ETF, it's steady, building interest over time. So it just depends on what you got to do. But if your mindset is BOO is my savings account, BOO is my emergency fund, and if something happens, guess what? I just have to, sell a couple of shares and transfer it to my debit card. So some people do have ETFs as an emergency fund / savings account. It's just, everybody got their own way of doing things, their own, plan. But I'm not the one to, say, put all your money in the stock market. That's because that's not what I do. I got to have an emergency fund, and then that means that everything that I put into the stock market, I don't have to mess with. If something happened, I already got the emergency fund right there ready to rock and roll. But, like I said, with the development of the internet, it's making it more easier to be able to sell your shares and hurry, so you can get your money in your hand. It's making it easier with the development of these brokerage accounts. All right, see, Nvidia is trying to get to that 168. All right, let's see what's going on over here.
For school. So I think we have to stop demonizing landlords as the bad guy and figure out ways to sort of collaborate and have discussions. Like I mentioned the FAIR Act. Had they listened to us and had healthy discussions with us, we would have prevented, I think, something that was really irresponsible. And you're seeing the negative impacts on rentals right now. So
that's the affordability issue. Can you speak to us about what you see as the economic backdrop in all the areas in which you operate?
For us, affordability is still somewhat of a challenge. In New York City, we know it's a discretionary market, so it's a little bit different. Inventory is steady. Prices have been fairly flat. So movement has been, actually the second quarter in New York City was really solid. But this is not the rest of the country. The rest of the country has other challenges regarding affordability. Palm Beach is not the rest of the country. I can talk about markets that are more discretionary, where people have more income and can afford to do a refinance or buy a second home, whatever it is. But most people in America are not in that position. So this market, the discretionary market, has performed fairly well and has been doing well because sometimes it's an all-cash buyer and rates are not necessarily impacting
how y'all doing, everybody in the chat? How y'all doing? Hope y'all having a great morning.
If rates and prices are starting to soften slightly, but buyers are still on the sidelines, what signals do you think they're waiting for? What are you hearing from the ground?
I think that the issues continue to be rates, inventory, and prices. Prices being number one, because in the last 2 years, prices have slowly been going up. And so I think buyers feel like they've been priced out of the market. They can't afford to buy a first-time home. The prices have crept up. Rates are higher, so they can't afford to make their nut each month by buying it. And so I think that remains a big challenge and something we have to think about in this country, how to build more affordable housing and how to make it accessible to people so they can have the American dream and have something for an investment for their future. Because that's what buying your home is, an investment in your future.
Do you use Zillow to check out houses?
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying this.
That's my hobby.
Zillow is where everybody goes to look because it's an aggregator site.
Oh, it's just everybody's doing it.
Everybody's doing it.
Even Best Friedman.
Even Best Friedman, because that's, if you want to find something, that's where everything is housed. And there are some, brokerages that are trying to avoid that, but I don't think you can.
Bess Friedman, Chief Executive Officer at Brown Harris Stevens, the real estate firm. Looking at the markets right now, the major averages slightly lower. This is Bloomberg Intelligence.
All right. Hey, if Nvidia would not be on this run, this market will be down even worse than this. Nvidia is basically holding up the market. This good run on Nvidia. Nvidia is up 2.25% right now. Nvidia is holding up the market, guys. If it wasn't for Nvidia, the market would really be down. Because of this tariffs talk. Because of the tariff talk, the market, you know, is kind of fumbling. But Nvidia, with its good news, is really holding it up. Particularly the S&P 500. If you don't know, Nvidia is a big player in the S&P 500. Nvidia, Tesla, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, Google, shout out to YouTube, Google, and all these different companies make up what is the S&P 500. Which is called an ETF. Kind of quiet today on the news. Kind of quiet in the world. Right now, everybody's talking about tariffs. If it ain't tariffs, it's about the illegals. Let's see. Share this instead. We'll come back to that. Boom. Go over here and look at this a little bit. We're getting a little pullback on Nvidia. We're also getting a pullback on the S&P 500. Whoa, pullback on Tesla. Tesla got all the way up to 311, and now Tesla is pulling back as well. Microsoft holding up. Facebook tried to get into the W pattern. If you've been watching this channel for a while, I love this W pattern on the day trade. I love this W pattern, but it didn't work out. We got rejected. We got rejected at the VWAP on Facebook right at 7:15. And we're back up under the VWAP right now. Yeah, I love the W-shaped pattern breakouts. But of course, you know, those breakouts don't happen all the time. That's why reading the chart, reading the candles is very important. AMD got up to resistance and turned all the way back down.
People are more willing to get into discretionary, like,
world will spend $500 billion on pets
and shoes for
we
their,
love
for
our
their
dogs,
dogs
our cats, and our pets,
crates
bro.
and the
We
things
love
like that.
pets.
Also, healthcare is a big thing. People are more willing to spend more on the healthcare of their pet than they used to.
Why is that? Is it because more dogs are getting sick, or is it more because of the insurance company? Like, why this trend?
Well, it's a couple of things. First of all, the humanization of pets. Now people consider them as family, so they're willing to spend a little bit more to, you know, keep their family member around. So there's a greater acceptance of that kind of attitude.
And who benefits the most from all this? What particular companies? Yeah, I think, what did we used to feed our dog?
human food, actually, when I was younger.
No, you don't feed them human food.
Well, yeah, maybe that's why my dog wasn't the healthiest.
Well, human grade food, I will guess. So it really depends. If you're looking at food, the big food companies, Nestle, Colgate, Mars, General Mills, they have, food offerings in different price points. But on the more premium side, you have things like Fresh Pet, that they have the fresh frozen, which is really like human grade food that you just, take it out of the fridge and you give it to your dog.
What we know that
like Isabel.
Yeah, sadly, I shouldn't have said that. So we know that Americans love their pets, and everyone knows that. To your point, people are delaying having children because they have pets, or in part because they have pets and because the economy is tough. Where does the U.S. stack globally?
Yes, so we're still about 40% of the market. We're probably going to grow about 35% compared to like the 38% that we expect over the next 5 years. So we're still going to be the biggest, the most mature part of the industry. There's others that might grow faster than that. There's other regions outside of Europe and the United States. However, that size of the pie is smaller, obviously.
It's not just dogs. There was a fascinating Bloomberg profile of a guy, I think he must have been Florida, who sells designer geckos. And some of them fetch a fortune, like $5,000 for a little gecko.
They throw it in the nugget right in the U.S. pharmaceutical pet market.
The dog?
It's
hit
still
$24 billion by
cats,
2030.
And that is like mainly, where we focused on. Of course, there's like others like hamsters and cobras and things like that, but that doesn't.
By the way, just
$500 billion market.
Parenthetically, don't put the hamster near the cobra.
Oh my. Fish is also, I don't want to imagine
that should seem obvious.
But fish is also fun. I think it's good training for young kids. They just feed it once a day. The cleaning of the aquarium is always tough, though.
Yeah,
don't
it shows
smell
them
that.
Responsibility for sure.
Okay, so we know that e-commerce sales, you wrote in your note that in the U.S. it might reach 27% of the total from 20% in 2020. So we have that. We have the pharma market. We have the food market really just growing. What could be the hindrance here? What headwinds are you seeing in this space?
Well, we actually see certain pockets of the market being a little bit more conflicted, particularly in the past year. Discretionary spending, we did make fun of the vests, and even, popular fashion brands are expanding their names into pets, but that part of the spending has been a little bit subdued, I want to say. And part of it is because the pet population has been, not growing as much as they used to, like back at the beginning of the pandemic. But another thing is obviously economic, the economic situation. People are curbing their spending, so that is like one of the first few things. In terms of premium, we still think it's gonna premium food. We still continue to think that it's probably going to get to 57-60% of the food in the U.S., like the overall food. But the cadence is probably going to be more like 27 on rather than shorter term. We think people are going to probably get with kibbles rather than, the fresh frozen part.
Diana, thank you. Diana Rosaria Pena, the consumer staples analyst. How the world is going to spend $500 billion on their pets. For our listeners in the U.S., a reminder, you can listen to us via satellite radio on Sirius XM and Channel 121. Access the world's only global audio business network, coast to coast, 24 hours a day. Bloomberg Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 121. It's presented by Oracle. And stay tuned for the latest market news and industry research. The next hour, Bloomberg Intelligence.
Yeah, they just chunked a little nugget right there. $500 billion industry by 2030. We love our pets, bro. Yeah, I love my pets. Can't play with people's dogs and cats. They don't play about that. So, yeah, I think that's going to be it, guys. This is what I do. I mean, I do this every single day. I research these companies. I look at the news, see what's going on, make proper investment decisions from this. Y'all see me basically do simple research on my phone. You know, I was researching and streaming all at the same time. That's the development of the phone. And I love it. To learn and teach and invest. So I think that's it for me right now, guys. I will be back for the walk down. You know, some people come chill with me on the walk down. I run 6 miles and then walk another 2 or 3. You know, that's what I do, you know. So that's going to be it for right now. I appreciate y'all for joining me. 704 Wall Street is my block. 704 Wall Street is my block. Earn, spend less, and make proper investments. And with that being said, it's the one and only Stock Sniper till the walk down.